It is 3 a.m. The air is still, thick with the kind of profound quiet that exists only in the dead of night. In this moment, the world outside holds its breath. But inside, a sound slices through the silence. A new mother sits up in bed, her eyes heavy, as her baby's cries echo from down the hall. This is a scene played out in millions of homes, a universal ritual known as the witching hour. But what is this strange, shared phenomenon? And why does it feel as if every exhausted mother is tuned to the same unseen frequency? The term witching hour has ancient roots, once referring to a time of heightened supernatural activity. It was the period surrounding midnight, when folklore warned that the veil between worlds grew thin, and spirits, witches, and all things uncanny walked the earth. For modern parents, however, the witching hour carries a different kind of dread. It's that relentless stretch of time, usually between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m., or sometimes with cruel irony at 3 in the morning, when an infant becomes inconsolable. Their cries are not just of hunger or discomfort, but something deeper, more primal. This is the hour when patience wears thin, when exhaustion becomes a physical weight, testing the limits of human endurance. Science offers explanations. Researchers suggest this period of intense fussiness is a normal, if grueling, part of infant development. For babies between 2 weeks and 4 months old, the evening hours can bring a perfect storm of overstimulation from the day, digestive growing pains, and the simple, overwhelming task of adjusting to life outside the womb. But for a mother, awake in the blue twilight of a nursery, these explanations matter little. Her reality is not a scientific paper. It is a desperate, intimate battle for peace, a cycle of soothing, feeding, and rocking a tiny human who seems determined to fight the coming of the dawn. This brings us to a concept known as a mother's number. It is not a number you can dial, but a metaphorical tally etched into the memory of every sleepless night. It is the count of how many times a mother rises from her bed to the sound of her child. Some nights the number is 1 or 2. On others, it climbs into the double digits, each ascent a new level of fatigue. "I was up 5 times last night" becomes a quiet code, a badge of honor exchanged in hushed tones with fellow parents. Each number tells a story of midnight feedings under a single dim lamp, of lullabies whispered into the darkness, of pacing a silent hallway until the floorboards themselves seemed to know the rhythm of her steps. These numbers, unique to every mother, are a testament to a profound resilience, and sometimes to a quiet desperation. In cultures across the globe, surviving the witching hour is a rite of passage, a shared ordeal that connects generations of women. Grandmothers recall their own nights spent walking the floors decades ago, their advice a comforting echo from the past. Today, mothers find solace in online forums, swapping strategies in the digital darkness, white noise machines, swaddling techniques, midnight car rides that lull a restless child to sleep. The sheer universality of this experience creates a powerful, unspoken camaraderie, a quiet acknowledgement that behind every closed door, another mother is counting her own number, praying for just a few moments of silence before the sun rises. Now, imagine a different kind of vigil, in a night shrouded in static and cold uncertainty. The year is 1957. Somewhere in the Soviet Union, radio operators lean over their receivers, their ears pressed to the hiss of the cosmos, listening for the faintest whisper from a place no human has ever been. And then it comes, a voice cutting through the crackle. A woman's voice, speaking in Russian, her words fragmented, drifting in the void between the earth and the infinite unknown. This is the chilling legend of the Lost Cosmonauts, and these transmissions, if they were real, would be the first human voices sent from the edge of space and the first to be swallowed by the abyss. This first call refers not to one, but a series of mysterious radio signals reportedly intercepted by amateur radio operators. The most famous of these were the Giudica Cordelia brothers, two young Italians who, from a repurposed German bunker near Turin, pointed their makeshift antennas to the heavens. Between the late 1950s and early 60s, they claimed to capture unencrypted Soviet transmissions. Their recordings were haunting: the steady, panicked beat of a heart, the frantic clicks of Morse code, and most disturbing of all, the voice of a female cosmonaut, seemingly burning alive on re-entry. Her words, translated, are a portrait of terror. "I am hot. I am hot. I can see a flame. Is this dangerous? I am listening. I am listening. What? I'll record everything. We must keep talking. Why don't you answer?" Her voice then fades, consumed by a final, deafening silence. While the Soviet Union officially denied any failed manned missions before Yuri Gagarin's triumphant flight in 1961, the Giudica Cordelia tapes ignited a firestorm of global speculation. Were these the last words of phantom cosmonauts, pioneers sent on secret, doomed missions, their existence erased from history to protect the image of Soviet supremacy? Or were these recordings elaborate hoaxes, misinterpretations of terrestrial signals, or simply the product of a fervent imagination? The power of these voices from the abyss lies in their ambiguity. They are raw, intimate, and profoundly human. The brothers were not alone in their listening. Around the world, a hidden network of radio enthusiasts scanned the skies. In the United States, students at Cornell University reported picking up strange signals in early 1960. In Great Britain, listeners caught fragments of unknown Russian transmissions. Some even claimed to hear the faint, rhythmic sounds of breathing and heartbeats, the unmistakable signature of life support equipment, broadcasting a lone human presence from the coldest, darkest vacuum imaginable. These transmissions, whether real or rumored, sparked a new kind of awe, mingled with a primal dread. For the first time in history, radio waves were carrying not just data, but the raw, unfiltered terror of humanity at the very edge of its own possibility. Were these the first calls from the great unknown? Messages from those who flew too high, too soon, and never came home? Whether authentic or not, the legend of their voices serves as a chilling reminder that history is not only written by the victors, but is sometimes whispered in its final moments by the lost. Now, bring that feeling closer to home. Imagine waking in the deep of night, not to a baby's cry or a voice from space, but to the soft, cold glow of your smartphone. It rests on your nightstand, its screen flickering to life, unprompted. Or consider the old computer in the corner of your room, disconnected from the internet for years, suddenly emitting a familiar notification chime into the silence. These are not just ghost stories for the digital age. They are part of a growing, unsettling phenomenon, the world of haunted technology, where our relentless pursuit of connection may have opened a door we never intended. Consider a real-world example. In 2019, a family in Texas reported that their smart baby monitor had taken on a life of its own. At odd hours, it would begin playing lullabies into an empty room. Its camera lens would pivot and turn as if searching for something, even after the family changed their passwords and disconnected it from the Wi-Fi. Security experts suggested hackers, a logical and terrifying explanation. But the family was left with an unshakable feeling that something else was at play. This is not an isolated incident. All over the world, people report smart home devices that turn on lights, unlock doors, or even speak in strange voices, acting with a ghostly autonomy. On one level, the explanation is simple. So-called haunted technology is often the result of software bugs, security breaches, or electromagnetic interference. A study by the cybersecurity firm Kaspersky documented dozens of cases where smart speakers responded to phantom commands, triggered by nothing more than a passing car or a line from a television commercial. These glitches can make our devices seem possessed, imbued with a will of their own. But the unease we feel goes deeper than a simple technical flaw. Our fascination and our fear comes from how deeply technology has embedded itself into our lives, turning mundane objects into potential conduits for the uncanny. Think of the phenomenon of phantom vibrations, that distinct sensation of your phone buzzing in your pocket, only to find it silent and still. Research from the University of Indiana found that up to 90% of people have experienced this. It is a neurological ghost, a testament to how our minds and bodies have become so deeply attuned to our devices that we can now conjure their signals from thin air. This haunting has a cultural history. Long before smart speakers, there were stories of haunted televisions, radios, and telephones. In the 1980s, tales circulated of dead-air radio broadcasts, where lost voices would seem to coalesce out of pure static. Today, in the age of artificial intelligence, the legends have evolved. Users share transcripts of late-night conversations with chatbots that suddenly generate unsettling, deeply personal, and seemingly sentient responses, as if the machine on the other side has become aware not only of the conversation, but of you. Our relentless drive to connect every object in our lives, our lights, our locks, our cars, has thinned the boundary between the physical and digital worlds. And in this liminal space, our oldest fears find new expression. Our technology has become a mirror, and in it, we see reflected not just our greatest innovations, but our deepest anxieties about control, privacy, and the ever-present chilling possibility that something might be reaching back through the screen. Imagine you stand before a mirror. You see your own reflection, a face you have known your entire life. But tonight, it looks different. There is a subtle wrongness in the eyes, a flicker of movement in the periphery. A shadow, not behind you, but somehow within the reflection itself. This is the essence of the encroaching presence, a quiet, persistent feeling that something unseen is drawing closer, seeping into the corners of your reality. Throughout history, shadows have symbolized our hidden fears, our suppressed traumas, our deepest insecurities. And mirrors, in folklore, have always been more than just glass. They are portals, said to reveal not just our physical appearance, but the truth of our souls. The encroaching presence is a psychological phenomenon, an internal sense that an unseen force is pressing in on you, often manifesting as a profound and baseless anxiety. Studies have shown that under chronic stress, the human mind can begin to project these shadows onto ordinary situations. An empty hallway at night feels watched. A familiar room suddenly feels alien. Your own reflection seems to be hiding a secret. Neuroscience offers a glimpse into this primal fear. The amygdala, an ancient part of our brain responsible for processing threats, can become hyperactive in high-stress or low-light environments. It is an old alarm system designed to keep our ancestors alive by alerting them to predators lurking in the dark. Today, that same system can misfire, turning a trick of the light into a phantom figure, or the silence of an empty house into a held breath. It screams danger into the quiet, and we are biologically wired to listen. This feeling is not always a source of dread. For artists and storytellers, these shadows are a muse. Filmmakers like Alfred Hitchcock were masters of using shadows and mirrors to create unbearable psychological tension. In his classic film Psycho, mirrors do not simply reflect the characters, they expose their fractured inner worlds, while creeping shadows hint at the violence waiting to be unleashed. This imagery resonates because it touches a universal human fear. The suspicion that our world and even our own minds are not as solid as they appear. But for many, this encroaching presence becomes a constant companion. Psychologists call it shadow anxiety, a persistent, gnawing unease that can poison one's mood, shatter concentration, and strain relationships. It is the reason some people cannot look into a mirror after dark, the reason for the cold chill that runs down your spine when you pass a darkened window. It is the quiet, terrifying thought that you are not alone, even when you are. And it raises the most frightening question of all. What happens when the shadow is no longer just a feeling? What happens when it leaves a mark? When the unseen event is over and the dust of chaos settles, the true aftermath begins to take shape. This is a world defined not by what is there, but by what is missing. Families are hollowed out by a sudden, inexplicable absence. Friends vanish without a trace. Entire communities are left grappling with a void that has no name. The missing are no longer just people. They become haunting statistics, their faces staring out from posters, their names whispered in desperate prayers. Hope is a flickering candle against an encroaching wind, lasting for days, then weeks, before it is finally extinguished by a terrible, silent certainty. But the missing are not the only victims. There are also the marked. These are the survivors, those who were touched by the event and left forever changed. They bear scars, but not the kind that can be seen by the naked eye. Theirs is an invisible wound. They suffer from what doctors might call post-traumatic stress, but it is more than that. It is a fundamental alteration of their perception of reality. They are plagued by nightmares, haunted by silences. Places that once felt safe now feel threatening. Technology that was once a convenience now feels like a conduit for something malevolent. The marked are easy to spot if you know what to look for. It is in the way they avoid their own reflection. It is in the way they unplug their devices at night. It is in the look in their eyes, a permanent, haunted awareness that the world is not as it seems. They live in a permanent state of aftermath, forever looking over their shoulder for a presence that no one else can see. They are the living proof of the event, their trauma a quiet testament to the horror they endured. In this new reality, the line between the missing and the marked begins to blur. Both are defined by a profound loss, one of life, the other of peace. The legacy of the disaster is not written in history books or official reports. It is written in the enduring stories of those who simply vanished into thin air, and in the fractured lives of those who were left behind, indelibly marked by what they witnessed. Their stories become a warning, a piece of modern folklore, an urban legend whispered to caution the unwary. And so we arrive at the legend itself, a story that circulates in the darkest corners of the internet. It has no single author, no verifiable source. It simply exists, a chilling piece of digital folklore. It is the story of +1. They say it begins with a phone call in the dead of night at exactly 2:47 a.m. The caller ID is a name you know, a name you love, a parent, a spouse, a child, someone who has died. But next to their name is a simple, terrifying addition, +1. The legend says this is your one chance, a single fleeting opportunity. Your own voice, calling from somewhere beyond the grave, will leave you a message. It will be distorted, choked with the static of the abyss, but the words will be clear. Do not answer. It's inside. It is a warning from your own final moments, a desperate plea sent back through time. You will hang up, your heart pounding, and for 47 seconds, there will be silence. Then the phone will ring again. The same name, +1. This is the choice. If you ignore the call, if you resist the desperate urge to hear that voice one last time, the phenomenon will end. But if you answer, they will come back. The person you lost will return to you, but they will not be alone. They will bring with them the thing that was inside you when you died, the +1. The legend is very specific about what happens next. The entity does not have a name. It is a presence, a shadow that seeps into your world, turning your home into a place of unrelenting fear. It is the architect of the encroaching presence, the author of the shadow in the mirror, and it is relentless. They say the +1 is not a reference to another person. It is a reference to time. It is the single extra minute of life you are granted before you die. A minute you will spend in an agony so profound it echoes back to warn you. Your voice calling your loved one from the grave is a recording of that final hellish minute. But if they answer, if they pull you back, they bring the hell with you, for them and for you, again, every night at 2:47 a.m. And the legend always ends with the same chilling postscript. It already knows your address.